and welcome back to the Messy Bookshelf. I'm Jennifer, and today I'm going to be talking about audiobooks. A lot of people kind of hate on audiobooks because they say it's not reading, which is not true. Listening to audiobooks is basically reading, but you get other stuff done. Sometimes you don't have time to sit down and read a book, but you still want to read it super badly. So audiobooks give you that option of getting your stuff done in your productive, busy adult or teenager or child life and still being able to read all the books that you want to read. I knew about audiobooks before, but it wasn't until I got Audible that I realized how much fun audiobooks can be. The point of this video is just to talk about some of the audiobooks that I've listened to, and for the most part I've listened to all of these audiobooks. I usually delete the audiobooks off my device, but they still show up. You've probably already heard of because I usually mention the books once or twice in some videos. I oftentimes forget to talk about them because I don't have like a stockpile of books, and audiobooks just go to the back of my brain for some reason. So in this video I'm going to talk about all of the books that I've read and what I thought about them. So the first couple of books I listened to were The Pretty Little Liars 1 and 2, and I half listened to them, half read these because the girl that did the narrating for these books has such an annoying voice. Her voice really did not make the experience pleasurable, which is the worst part about audiobooks, is that you don't have options and sometimes the voices just don't work. So that's why I like that they have samples on the website so you can listen to the book and decide whether you want to actually listen to this voice for hours on end or just go out and read it yourself. Next, I listened to Looking for Alaska, and I think I also half read this, half listened to it because I was reading the book, but I had the little mass market paperback version that I really disliked, but I could not find another version of it. So I listened to it and then read it while I was at work and stuff like that. Next two books are the second and third books in the Beautiful Creatures series by Kami Garcia and Margaret Stoll. I read the first one after watching the movie because I tried it before but I couldn't get into it, but when I watched the movie I was really excited to finish this book, so I gave it another shot. But when I tried to read the second book I just couldn't get into it, so I decided to try listening to it, and it actually worked. I ended up getting through the entire series, so I did end up reading Beautiful Redemption as well. But before I read that one, I tried The Maze Runner because, again, I couldn't get into the book, but after watching the movie, I wanted to actually finish reading it. So I listened to the audiobook, and the audiobook helped me get through the first book, but it didn't make me want to finish the series, so I still haven't finished that series, and I probably won't. I'll probably just watch the movies. Next, I listened to Armada by Ernest Cline. The reason I decided to listen to this, and I guess this is really the book that kickstarted my audiobook obsession, is because Will Wheaton did his first book, Ready Player One, and I read that one physically, and I absolutely adored it, so I was really excited for this book. And when I heard Will Wheaton was going to be also narrating this one, I decided to listen to it instead of reading it. And I'm kind of glad that I did because I didn't enjoy the book as much as I enjoyed Ready Player One, so listening to it really helped me get through the book, because sometimes if I have to sit down and read a book, I'm not going to get through it because if I'm not enjoying it, I don't want to kind of waste my time. But if I'm listening to a book, I can get other stuff done and I don't feel like I'm wasting my time. The next book that I listened to was Down the Rabbit Hole. I really fell in love with memoirs and self-help and biographies through audiobooks because oftentimes the author will narrate the book, and it really makes the experience such a different one when you're listening to the person who wrote this book read it to you, because the way their voice sounds probably goes along with the story, which you're not going to get if you're physically reading it or if you're listening to someone else read it. So I decided to listen to Holly Madison's Down the Rabbit Hole, her first book, because a friend of mine suggested it, was totally hyped about it. I never really heard of Holly Madison. I quickly figured out who she was. And I decided to listen to it because she said that the chapters were really long, and as we all know, I don't like long chapters. And listening to it really helped me get through it because I didn't feel pressured to stop in at the end of a chapter, or there's this option where the app goes to sleep at the end of a chapter, so sometimes I'll use that, and then once that chapter's over, I'll move on to whatever else I have to do. The next book I listened to is Fat Girl Walking by Brittany Gibbons. Now, I was really having high hopes for this one. Really didn't enjoy this. I just found it was not really what I was expecting, and I had considered buying this book at work, but it was a little bit too pricey, and for the price of that one book, I got 2 credits on my Audible account, and 2 credits equals to like 2 books. So for basically half the price, I got the book, and I didn't have to see it sitting on my shelf when I didn't enjoy it. Next, I listened to City of Lost Souls. I have a love-hate relationship with the City of Bones series. I really didn't like the first book, but I was told to push on and that her books get better. And I did, and I really enjoyed City of Ashes and City of Glass. I can never remember what order. So when I got to City of Fallen Angels, I was back on the I'm not really loving this series anymore. But I was told to push on, so I decided to listen to City of Lost Souls, especially because I had a hardcover version. And I liked it a bit more than City of Fallen Angels, but not as much as probably City of whatever the 3rd book in the series is. Now I'm going to read The Infernal Devices before I get to City of Heavenly Fire, because that's what I'm told to do first, kind of. This world is a little confusing at times. The next book that I read is Everyone Hanging Out Without Me and Other Concerns by Mindy Kaling. Mindy Kaling's books are humor novels and they're memoirs at the same time, and I'd recently gotten into her show and was really interested in reading her book. Now, I found her book at a secondhand store and I had a physical copy in my possession, but she reads her books, and when the author reads their books, especially with memoirs and humor, you get more enjoyment out of listening to the actual author read their material. So I decided to go with the audiobook, and then I could look at the book that I owned for pictures and things like that, because sometimes they do put pictures in these, so it's nice to have a physical copy so you can see that kind of stuff. And sometimes, like Mindy Kaling does, make reference to the fact that there are pictures in the physical novel and that you should go and even just go to the bookstore and pick it up and look at it just to see what they're talking about. Once I finished her first book, I automatically went into her second book, which was still good, not as good as her first, but I still really enjoyed it. And the good thing about listening to the books is if you do want to own them, you can, and have them on your shelf physically, then you can just wait until they go on sale and then just pick it up when it's at its cheapest price, because we know books can kind of be pricey at times. I finished Mindy Kaling's book. I was on a crazy memoir binge and I decided to pick up Tyler Oakley's Binge. I know, right? I just said binge. And oh my god, I'm still raving over how good this book was to listen to. It was funny, it was sad at times, it had everything you could possibly want. It's a little bit on the maybe older sides. I read it so fast that I think it was the next day that I was starting Shonda Rhimes' Year of Yes, which was another crazy, insane book that I absolutely gunned through. I think I ended up getting a free credit because I read them so quickly. It was so fantastic, and it really made me want to start watching Grey's Anatomy because she talks about it a lot, and I hadn't watched the show before. Once I finished that, I picked up Modern Romance by Enzi Ansari. This is another one that I picked up when it was on sale for dirt cheap, and I decided to listen to it because it is, again, read by him, and I had heard from a coworker that it was really good, and it was really good. It's more of a study of what romance is today compared to what it used to be, because it really has changed. And if you have any interest in this, I highly suggest the audiobook because it was really interesting listening to it. But I also suggest that you pick up a physical copy because there are graphs and stuff in the book that might be interesting to actually look at. Another thing that I've been doing with this series is I've been re-listening or rereading the Harry Potter series. They recently released them on Audible, and because I've read the series so often, I will listen to it when I go to sleep. It has a sleep timer, so I usually set it to about 30 minutes. And yes, I do end up falling asleep before the 30 minutes are up, and I end up missing some things. But I know this series so well that the next night when I start it up again, I don't feel like I've missed anything at all. So I've been doing that, and I'm currently on Order of the Phoenix. Order of the Phoenix has definitely taken me the longest, and I think I only have about 45 minutes left. I'll probably end up finishing that tonight. Once I hit a certain amount of time, if I'm close to a half an hour, I'll just let it run its course, and then the next night I'll end up starting with a new book. In January, I decided to take on the feature of A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihira, and I was recommended this by a coworker, but it's a tome. It's such a long book, so I decided to listen to it. And it's 32 hours and 51 minutes, so almost 33 hours long. And it took me the full month of January to get this read because there were times when I wanted to take my phone, rip them from my ears, and throw it across a parking lot, but I couldn't do that because that would break my phone, and that I cannot afford a new phone. I listened to it and I loved it so much, but I kind of want to own the physical copy and read it now because I feel like I might have missed some things while listening to this because it was such a long book. There were times when I kind of zoned out, and then there's this one moment where I had to go back and listen to it 3 or 4 times to catch what happens because it happens so quickly. So that is kind of the downfall with audiobooks because you do end up missing some things. Then I read Yes Please. I've talked about Yes Please on here a lot because I kind of, again, have a love-hate relationship for it. I love Amy Poehler, and I really enjoyed listening to the book, but the book itself just kind of is a bore. It's not as funny as she is on TV with scripts. I guess her comedy just doesn't translate well, and I found that listening to this book was the only reason I really liked it as much as I did, especially because of that last chapter. I believe I've talked about it before. I'll see if I can find it, and if I do, I'll link it down below so you can check it out. I listened to Girl Boss, and I really loved this. This was not narrated by Sophia Amoruso, but it's fine because the narrator's voice was not annoying, and she did a really good job, and it made me really enjoy the book. I don't think I'll be going out and buying an actual copy of it, but it's one of those books that maybe like every woman should read, especially in their early 20s. Then I read Miracles Now by Gabrielle Bernstein. This is another book that I've talked about on here before. I read her May Cause Miracles book and had a physical copy, and I thought with that one I felt that I would have gotten more out of the audiobook, but so I tried the audiobook with this one, but with this one I felt that I would have gotten more out of the physical book. So it's kind of a situation where you don't really know with certain books. And you gotta just have to take a gamble. I still really enjoyed it, but I will probably end up picking up the physical copy at some point in my lifetime. Then I read I Had a Nice Time and Other Lies by the Betches. I didn't really know a whole lot about this book. I was kind of just looking through and saw it, remembered that I'd seen it in work, so I knew it was new, and decided to give it a shot. And it wasn't for me. I did not find it funny, as a lot of people might have. Didn't find that it was very helpful because it's supposed to be a dating book. I think they focus maybe more on the humor. I don't really know. It wasn't for me, which is why I haven't really talked about it on this channel, because I don't really have a whole lot of good to say about it. Recently, I've finished How to Be a Woman by Caitlin Moran. This book was so good. I gave it 5 stars, and it's really one of those books, again, everyone has to read it, but I also want to buy it and bring it home so I can have a physical copy and probably read it again, because she is so inspiring and she's so honest, and blunt about her life and the things that she thought and did, and it was just such a good book. And it's kind of the reason why I wanted to make this video, because I wanted to talk a bit about audiobooks in general, but also bring this one because I keep forgetting to include it in my wrap-ups and stuff. Currently, I'm reading The Vegas Diaries, which is Holly Madison's new book, and I'm really, really loving it. I was a little concerned that it wouldn't be as good as the first one because there's a lot of drama surrounding the Playboy house, but this one is still really enjoyable and I'm really enjoying it. And I have 4 hours and 52 minutes left, so it shouldn't take me very long to get that finished. And once I get that finished, I'm planning on reading I Am Jazz by Jazz Jennings, I believe. But that is it. Let me know down in the comments if you read audiobooks and what one is your favorite. If you like this video, please hit that thumbs up button, and if you want to see more, hit subscribe. I post videos every Tuesday and Friday. Bye!